Naomi Climer, welcome to the University of Huddersfield. I believe this is
much.
your first time, not just to the university, but to Huddersfield itself.
That's true, it is. I've never been here before, but it's lovely.
And you're going to the award ceremony tomorrow to receive your award. Are you looking forward to that?
I really am, actually. It's a real honour. It's a real honour. I know the Vice-Chancellor quite well because he's on the board of the IET, where I'm president. And so you can tell that he loves this place and how important it is to him. So he's kind of infected me with enthusiasm for what's being done here. So I was really looking forward to coming. And so the honorary award is really something, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
You just mentioned there that you are president of the IET, which comes to an end not too long from now. Your mission when you started was to increase the number of women in let's say STEM subjects, STEM careers and what have you. How do you feel you've done? Do you think you've raised the awareness?
It's I mean, it's a hard one to measure, and actually my mission really was to improve the image of engineering and STEM generally, and one of the things we can do about that is to increase women's enthusiasm for coming into it, because the numbers of women in STEM are so low that one obvious way to improve the number in total is to just get more women involved. So it's a kind of a dual action thing. I don't think that STEM has as good a reputation in this country as it does in some others, and that has a disproportionate effect on the number of women that come in. And so in terms of have I achieved my aim, I feel like I have contributed to the visibility of engineering, of women in engineering, but you know, the data is still depressing, frustrating, maddening, frankly, and the numbers haven't really shifted in decades. So although there's anecdotal evidence that I've influenced somebody here or somebody there, this is a long haul, and I think I've played a part, but haven't cracked it yet, unfortunately.
Yes, I mean, I was going to say, what would you like to see done to improve it? I mean, one of the things I came across was a female Doctor Who, as one thing, but quotas for companies could be a thing.
I have talked about quotas, which I know is horribly controversial, and to be honest, I'm not in favour of quotas. I would love to get this sorted without them. After 30 years, I'm losing patience, and I kind of think we need to try something different. But that said, if we can find a way to solve this without quotas, that would be better. But one of the things I have said to companies is that I would encourage them to at least set themselves a target. And the first place to start is just even to measure things and report on them, because when I was running a European division of Sony, I realised that I had a kind of a view of what I thought our mix looked like. But it was only when I actually pulled the numbers and started measuring it and looking at it that I realised that what was going on wasn't quite what I thought. And so the simple act of measuring and reporting on it helps people to get their mind around what they might be doing right and what they might be doing wrong. And so I am encouraging companies to A, start measuring what they're doing, look at their data, and B, then possibly set themselves a target to just push themselves a little bit. But you know, my worry is it's just on the current track, it is going to be decades, 60, 70 years before we get anywhere close to parity. But the other thing, we did a fair bit of research at the IET in the past year or two that sort of shocked me, was that more than half of teachers and parents don't think that engineering is a suitable career for a girl. And it's 2016. Teachers and parents, I find that quite shocking. But again, it's a particular UK issue. We have the kind of worst track record in Europe here in the UK for this. So I do think, there's something particular about the way engineering is viewed in this country that we need to change. So part of what I've been talking about is we need some different role models, that media could play a role, hence the female Doctor Who, that actually the British image of an engineer is a bit stereotypical. It's kind of dirty. It's it's very manual, and so that's my mission, to change people's image of what engineering's like.
So it's education in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
And that could change as well, couldn't it? In as much as the choices made by the choices in this country are made a lot earlier, aren't they? Than they are in, let's say, like the US or whatever, which is not helpful, is it?
I think that's right. I mean, especially what the evidence we've got shows that girls lose interest in STEM somewhere between age 9 and 14, that up till that age, actually, there's really no difference. Everybody's excited by STEM. And then somehow it becomes uncool for a girl somewhere between 9 and 14. And then at 14 is the age in this country that kids have to choose their subjects. And so we're doing some research on it at the moment, but we do think that the baccalaureate system has got a lot to offer, at least in this context, where you do get to take a broader range of subjects until you're a bit older. And I lived in America for a few years until quite recently, and one of the things that struck me about their university education was you'd meet someone who's like in their second year undergrad, and you'd say, oh, what subject are you doing? And they said, well, I haven't decided yet. And you know, this is like a 21-year-old who's still taking a range of subjects, and really they kind of major in their final year. And obviously, if you've set out to be a kind of research physicist, well, okay, then that's, you know, you want to study that in depth as soon as you possibly can. But actually, for a lot of people, the degree is a foundation for something. You know, they might end up in accountancy or management, and that maybe it's okay if they're even at university level, their education is a bit broader. And so I do think that helps, especially with the diversity issue, where girls reach a level of maturity where the whole uncool thing is past, but they've still got the subjects that they can consider to go into an engineering or a STEM career. So I do think that some of those broader education systems would help with the diversity issue.
Mm-hmm. Do you find government is on your side? I don't mean this government, but generally is government sort of, yes, that's right, you know, we need to do something? Yeah,
well, government is very energised around STEM generally because you know, it's something like 30% of our GDP in this country comes from STEM-related activity, and we know our research, but also other research shows that we're going to be short of STEM workers and engineering workers in particular over the next few decades. You know, a huge shortfall of graduates. And so actually it's a government issue, it's an economic issue. If we can't find ways of encouraging more people into STEM, then we're going to have an economic problem in the future. So government is very motivated, and I think part of the frustration is that if we could find kind of the one switch we need to flick for this all to be fixed, I think there's a good deal of willingness to do that. But because it seems to me it's quite a cultural issue, there's a lot of things that we need to do, and we do need to get to parents and teachers as well as to the children themselves, you know, and kind of change a perception, which is not a trivial thing to do.
And as you come to the end of your term, you finish at the end of September, mm-hmm. It's not a case of it won't be your problem, but somebody else will be taking it on. Do you see problems with Britain coming out of the European Union?
Well, the IET...
I'm asking as somebody who's not just president of the IET, but somebody who's run companies, in very senior, in very big companies.
Yeah. Well, the IET, we looked at this through we have some policy panels who work with government and look at government policy in areas where there's technology, and we try and help government to be informed on this kind of thing. So we did issue a statement before the referendum where we did see that Brexit could affect things like research funding, and obviously things like access to skills would be affected by it, and international collaboration even at a research level, things like standards we felt would be affected, as well as international trade generally. So we did feel that on balance, from a purely engineering point of view, that it would be, you know, it was more predictable and safer to stay within the EU. So we do have some concerns about it. Obviously, there are some opportunities that will come up from being outside of the EU. So what we're doing now, we're working with all of the other engineering institutions and the Royal Academy, so that we can at least punch our weight collectively rather than all kind of have different opinions, to just try and constructively work to make sure those kinds of issues are dealt with. So there will be mitigations, but things like, you know, European research funding just needs to be thought about, and things like access to skills, there will be other ways of dealing with it, but it just needs to be on the agenda and thought of as part of the negotiations. So yes, and the same point of view from having run an international company, there will be some challenges for it. You know, the company I was running was the European headquarters, and there will absolutely be some new opportunities. There'll definitely be some upsides to find, but there will be some new challenges that I think will just come out over the next few years. So I'm kind of worried about it, but because I'm a chronic optimist by nature, you know, a way will be found through it. But when I talked briefly to government about this a week or so ago, they were just saying that every few hours, almost some new issue would crop up that hadn't been thought about, and it's all resolvable. But you know, there's just a lot of small issues that will have to be worked through. So,
as we've said, IET presidency comes to an end quite shortly. What does life hold then for Naomi Climer?
Well, I'm hoping to be blissfully more relaxed. I've got a couple of small things that I'm doing, a bit of work for Sony as it happens, and some stuff in the broadcast world that I'm doing, and a bit of something I'm doing for the government around 5G. I have no plans to have a full-time job. I plan to go sailing and running and swimming and cycling and laughing and generally relishing life.
The University of Huddersfield, inspiring tomorrow's professionals.